Hey guys, Mike here. So, oh boy, what a day in the market. You got Tesla and NVDA blowing up, shorts running for the door and everything. But both of them did have catalysts, and I'll talk about those. But I think there was something, much more behind the curtain, which I'll get your opinion on, see what you think and stuff. Also, we had two things which I told you to watch out for over the weekend that was actually absolutely going off this morning, yet the market was basically ignoring it. Okay, and so that's kind of suspicious in a way, but maybe we're just getting back on track to something else. We'll have to see. But also, some news coming out of China real quick before we get into all that. Obviously, they cut another loan rate, but they kept the 5-year the same, and they didn't cut the rates as much as people thought they would. Okay, something else they're doing here, and there's a key word in here: China local governments to sell $206 billion of financing debt. And it says the PBOC, which is the Bank of China, to set up emergency liquidity tool. Okay, and so liquidity being the key word, Beijing also considering planning to sell special local bonds to try to stave off the slowing of the economy and what's going on in the real estate market, which has the whole world kind of sitting back, taking a seat. But what's shocking about it is, and maybe this is why you're seeing this, when you start seeing anticipating liquidity coming back in, is you got more bulls than bears in leveraged China bets. And you can see right there, there's a whole lot more people going in these 3x leverage bull ETFs than going into the bear ETFs right now. And so we'll see if that bet pays off for them. But again, liquidity drives markets, more than anything else as far as moving them up or down. And so we'll see if they're able to do it or not. Again, I make no predictions because it's China, and you know how they are. I mean, again, they didn't cut the rates as much as people thought they would, but we'll see if they continue to set up things, try to stave off what's happening over there, same way the Fed did over here when it comes to the regional banks, and you saw how the market reacted to that. And guys, before we continue, if you're getting anything out of this, please hit that thumbs up down there. I really appreciate it. And if you like the material here and the videos, think about subscribing. And that leads us into the markets. And we were talking about this in the Discord this morning. And what was crazy is the NASDAQ or the Qs is just, going parabolic in the morning time. But there was two other things which usually does not bode well for the market also breaking out, and that was the 10-year treasury and the dollar. And if you look right here, you can see what I'm talking about. It already busted out. You can see it started moving much higher this morning. But again, the market was like, whatever. We just don't care. Of course, this big move up it had in June and July is when it was ignoring the yields altogether and stuff. But yeah, I mean, and you can see right there, I mean, it has already broken out above that. I'm looking for a retest of the trend line to say this is an official breakout, of course, before it continues to move higher. But also keep in mind, again, it's like a stock. When it gets overbought, you're going to see a pullback, okay? And the dollar, same thing. Ended up busting out this morning. It's going higher, and I thought it was going to continue to go higher, but this one ended up rolling over. Of course, it's almost in the overbought territory as well. As you can see, busted out and then rolled right back over, and the Qs just continue to roar, and tech in general just continue to absolutely take off and stuff. And when you look at the Qs here, I mean, you can see it's in this downward channel. Obviously, what happened on hourly? It was oversold, so it got this bounce right here. Is this going to continue? We'll have to see until you get above that trend line and then the descending trend line on top of that. All of this doesn't mean anything. Okay, let's be very clear about that. It's about 1.2% to that one, less than a percent to the other trend line, of course. So those will act as a resistance moving up. And you can see I'm talking about, say, trend line. It's the one that's been there since 2023. We were bouncing up on the move, so that would be resistance now. If it breaks above that, breaks above out of this channel right here, that will be super bullish. But you can see it's going to have resistance. Again, this will all depend on NVIDIA's earnings and what, how they perceive Jerome Powell and stuff. Now, you can see it was pretty much a three-party show here. You had tech moving up as far as the biggest sector, actually consumer discretionary, communications, everything else is either blah or red for the day. And when you come over, here's Tesla. Again, if you didn't see the video I put out, I think it was Sunday or Friday, I'll link both of them at the end here. As you can see, we talked about this confluence, a lot of confluence coming in this area, right? And all it is, when you talk about confluence, is a lot of things happening at one time that is actually considered bullish, or at least a place that could absolutely see a bounce, okay? And you're sitting there in the RSI, you're oversold. You're sitting there coming down close to the golden pocket. You're already below the 50 Fibonacci level. You're sitting here with actually a trend line, which has bounced off of multiple times. You got a big support area coming up. And this is not going to hit on the dime, right? It's going to be a range that it's in. It was only like 1.87% away from all of that happening. And with all that's happening, it's just one of those things you got to play good levels, right? I mean, I bought a call Friday when we closed. I closed it out today. I was just happy with that, but I was waiting to see, and I bought it for September 8th actually, because I was going to do a one-day trade on it. But I said, you know what? I'm going to give myself room in case this moves down, does move down to that area or just below it, right? But it just makes sense for a bounce. Now, does this mean it's going to continue up for, you know, a couple of days, for a week? None of that means anything, especially in this market. Now, this trend line I actually added on, which intersects with that to give it more confluence, which is the trend line coming all the way down, right? So, you know, it just, there's a lot of stuff going on in that area. And of course, one thing I didn't expect, which we got, was somewhat of a catalyst when it says, hey, look at this, an upgrade, right? Baird analyst comes out, they give it a $300 price target. You got some talk about the Cybertruck, like we've never heard of that before, right? And then, of course, you help put more fuel in the fire, and you can guarantee people were shorting this, and that's why you see such a big move up, okay, in Tesla and NVIDIA. Then you got NVIDIA. I mean, just, man, look at this move. I mean, enormous move up today. It was over 9% last time I looked. And so, you know, and of course, that candle is really small compared to the other one, right? So this is done this amazing run up over the last basically 7 trading days. And you look at this, like 16% for a big mega cap stock. And when you look at the daily right here, you can see it was just, there was no pullback in it whatsoever. It just kept going up and up and up and up and up. I mean, just perfectly. And so that is shorts covering all the way up right there. A lot of calls coming in, pushing it. Market makers are buying in. And you can see this is that same move from the 14th to today. I mean, that is a massive, massive move. And of course, its catalyst is basically the same thing, where you got just boatloads of institutions raising price targets over 500. Okay, so that never hurts. And I will say, I don't know how you feel about it, and I want to get your opinion, but this big move up coming into earnings, like, I don't know, one or two things is happening to me. You're either going to get a setup for one of the biggest rug pulls you've ever seen, or two, maybe they're even setting it up to where they report earnings, there's nothing wrong with earnings, and the stock doesn't move, right? And what would that do for market makers? They'll kill premiums on both sides. Don't matter if you bought calls or puts, then the premiums are going to go kaput if the stock just doesn't move enough in each direction, right? And then they'll say, well, it was already priced in. It's already priced in. We moved it up, right? And that, you know, again, third option is they report earnings, the market loves it, and it just shoots over 500. But when you're just looking at this huge move coming into earnings, which is Wednesday, and we'll see if we do any sell-off or not, it just seems to me those two scenarios make a lot of sense, but it would be not funny, but it would be so interesting to see NVIDIA actually hit earnings, guidance looks good, and the stock just doesn't move the next day, right? And so, I don't know, let me know what you think in the bottom, what you think they're trying to set this up for. And again, a lot of this has nothing to do with if, you know, if NVIDIA could, like I said, beat top bottom line, and guidance is good and everything else, and the stock still not move, right? I mean, that can happen, or it sells off. I mean, either way. Now, look, what I tell you about what NVIDIA would do for the other semiconductors, right? You got AMD, right? 3% move up on the day. Again, once it bounced off 102, NVIDIA goes nuts. So does AMD, right? It lifts all boats. You see right here. Here's all the semiconductors. Doesn't matter which one they are, no matter what kind of chips they have, all of them go green, all right? Especially when the granddaddy or the daddy of them all is up, you know, 8% at that time. So just keep that in mind. Now, when you're looking at something here, you know, NVIDIA's options are through the roof. I mean, they're so expensive, right? So for those who are gamblers, I told our members, you know, when you look on here, you can look for what they call a sympathy play, where the options are way cheaper if you just love to play earnings and stuff. And so, you know, when I pull up all of these together, you can kind of see on here that AMD and Marvel really kind of mirror NVIDIA the best when it comes to the moves, okay? Problem is Marvel, they're reporting this week, and so their IB is already through the roof, and AMD is already reported and had a huge sell-off. So to me, if you're going to play a sympathy play, you just have to do it to scratch an itch or something, you know, it will be AMD. Let me know in the comments which one you think would be better off. But when I look at that, it seems like AMD mirrors it a lot better. You're not going to get the same percentage move, no way. But at least you know you're not going to get IB crushed with AMD, and the options are way cheaper, okay? And so, you know, just let me know what you think in the comments. Anyway, look at Meta here, and you can see if we pull this up, the volume profile, Friday it started to get the bounce. It continued that bounce today off all that support right there, as you can see. again, on the hourly, on the daily, we're not oversold. We go to the hourly, obviously got way oversold Friday. That's where the bounce actually started at. And so it's just a continuation into the day and stuff. So just keep that in mind, filled that gap and everything. We'll see if this one keeps going or not. I mean, it has some room up if the market continues to want to move up. But again, this one is set up. If they want to push this one down, again, it can drop quite a bit. And you might have noticed any stock that had anything to do with cybersecurity or some kind of software defense type systems were all up today. And it's because Palo Alto actually crushed earnings, and they went up 15%. So they drug all these stocks, Datadog, Snow, Palantir, and Crowd, up with them. That's what caused that. So again, that's those type SMPTE type plays if you're looking to do those kind of things in the future. Now, earnings tomorrow, you're going to have a boatload of retailers: Macy's, Lowe's, Dick's, BJ's. We'll have a house builder and Toll Brothers. And then we're going to have Urban Outfitters as well. And then you got, of course, Lazy Boy too. Now, when it comes to economic data, one thing to look at really is the Richmond Fed manufacturing data, and then also services index. People like to look at that right there. Now, is that data going to move markets? One thing I've noticed is if it's positive, they'll use it to fuel the market up. If it's negative, they just push it to the side, right? But I'll be paying attention more to the services information than I will the manufacturing, because the services side is what they've had a problem actually slowing down. So we'll see if that comes in hot or not. I know one thing I noticed today too is that maybe it was just me or whatever, and I read about this last week, where a lot of institutions and hedge fund managers were closing out shorts last week. They didn't want to carry them into this week. And so when they close out, what does that mean? That means they're buying the stock, right? That's why you show like Friday, this late kind of rally coming up. And then today you could tell, and I mean, no doubt in Tesla and NVDA, shorts were covering. They love to short those two stocks. And I'm sure they make a lot of money doing it. I would never touch either one of those with a short, but you know, it's just not my thing though. So that's just me. But you could definitely tell, especially on NVIDIA, when it's just going straight up. Shorts are just covering. So you know, that's one thing that fuels these rallies when you get these sell-offs. That's why you get these violent moves up in a lot of stocks. And we'll see if it actually spreads out, because it wasn't very broad-based. Honestly, I mean, I showed you the ones that really were moving. Everything else was kind of like, you know, so it wasn't very broad. But we'll see if that continues more into tomorrow, or the market really just want to wait and see what NVIDIA has to say. Let me know what you think is going to happen there as well. So anyway, hope you guys got some out of it. Hit that like and subscribe button if you did. Really appreciate it. And I will see you guys tomorrow.